Okay.
All right, whenever y'all are ready.
What did y'all think of like what he was explaining, where they had to make him step on it and stuff to like prove that you weren't a Christian?
But we started.
I know, we just started.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit crazy because, like, I feel like we really don't understand the significance of it until it actually happens. Like, everyone think, oh, just step across it, no big deal. But then, like, if it brings it, like, home to, like, if you were to actually do it, like, how it would be so hard for me to do something like that because that's, like, literally betrayal at all cost.
Yeah. Well, I don't know the full background of it, but I also think like you shouldn't put so much weight on like just some like random piece of metal that they could have just made, you know? Like, I understand the significance of it
Yeah.
and like the meaning behind it of your religion, but at the same time, like, I don't think we want to get too caught up in like earthly things. I think we should focus more about the meaning of it.
But at the same time, you gotta understand that it's not so much the significance in the metal, it's in the significance in what you're doing.
Well, no, I know.
So, like, it to me, it would have a lot. Like, I don't think I could do that. But at the same time, it's like...
Well, it's a lot more significant to them because they have a lot more riding on it because their
lives.
their time on Earth is just full of pain entirely. They don't have anything else to live for, so they're completely banking on going to heaven after they die. So
That's actually a
if
really
anything
valid
could,
point.
jeopardize that.
I always think about how in the Bible it says to not lie, but then it also says to not like disrespect God, but then it also says like if you're in a situation where like your life depends on it, like you should do whatever you do. So like it's kind of like this torn spot where you're not sure whether to just do it or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree because I think that like God would know their heart and know that they don't want to do it, but at the same time, like Jesus sacrificed his life for us, like we should be willing to do the same for him.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them did step on it, even though they were Christians, but just because that they were kind of apprehensive to do it. They didn't have a little hitch in their giddy up. They didn't quite just walk right up and step on it.
But this is my question is...
So that's how they knew that.
But if you said that for them, all that's in life is pain and suffering, and that they're banking on the fact of going to heaven, wouldn't that be such a big thing that they'd rather just not step on it and go to heaven?
Yeah, wouldn't they rather just go to heaven right there and quit the suffering?
Because that's exactly what you just said a minute ago.
They're still human. They want to survive.
Yeah.
But it's just like, that slight bit of apprehension to not want to do it. That tells the samurais or whatever that...
The hesitation.
Yeah, because I was thinking like in chapter 2, whatever it was, the people like wanted to go to jail.
Chapter 4.
We're on chapter 4.
I know, but like way back. Like they wanted to go to jail, but like now they're like they don't want to go to jail. Remember?
It's a good point.
Because they wouldn't be just put in jail, they'd be killed if they didn't step on it.
Oh.
Yeah, this has gotten to a further point.
Oh, this is
Because
different. Okay.
Christians there, they don't accept them. That's why so many people, like, they talked about how they have to come up in, like, the middle of the night and they can only take 2 people at a time to, like, go up to their hut and witness to them. Like, that's why. Because it's such a big risk being a Christian, you can't be open about it. And that's why they were taking such a big risk going there in the first place.
I'm going to pull up my notes.
Yeah. All right. Moving on.
Well, that's a good starting point.
You got it. You want me to do it?
So this is one quote that I found on page 49, paragraph 1. He says he's completely at peace, which kind of is like, how are you at peace through all of that's going on?
With God's help, knowing that what you're doing there is ultimately for a good cause.
Because they don't really know peace. They kind of... Like when I
Well,
was...
he does, because he's saying that he's at peace.
These are the missionaries that came
Yeah.
over that said that, not the people that live there.
I mean, does he feel like he's done okay, like just good enough to get peace, or like, does he feel like he's done everything he could?
I think he's at peace knowing that he's made it there, and even if he doesn't complete the, like, I guess mission that they were on to, like, find the person and, like, know if they really did betray their faith, I think he's at peace knowing that he tried and he can say he did all that he could to try and find out the answer, Yeah. And, like, that's kind of like the situation. We can relate to that, too. Like, you can be at peace walking away from a situation knowing that you did everything that you could to help the situation.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that, okay, so, you know how they had to, like, they said I have a different book than y'all, but they said one puzzling problem remains: did someone betray us? So do y'all think that it'd be hard to like not really know anybody that you could trust besides the person that you came with? Cause like,
No, that'd be so.
cause like in the whole situation, they're just like constantly having to watch their back, and like they can't even literally go to sleep at night because like 2 people are sneaking up to their hut so they can witness to them.
Yeah, that would.
And at this point, they kind of got a whole bunch of people that are, claiming to be Christians with them. But it said later on in the chapter that they got divided into 2 groups. People that would stick with them and wouldn't say anything, and then people that just wanted to go ahead and leave, their village because they brought all the problems.
And the people that leave, you don't know if they're gonna share anything on the way out.
Right. So, even with all the Christians they have, they can't really trust them because, they're just going to start getting dragged out and killed.
And with how like they said, hold on. It says, the first thing you must realize is that poverty and squalor in which these peasants live is beyond anything you have ever seen in Portugal. Even the more wealthy among them, the upper class, only get a taste of rice about twice a year. So think about how easy it would be to bribe people there. Like, if you only get rice
to turn on you.
twice, yeah. I just think that's interesting.
Yeah.
What else do you guys
don't
think
get
about-
killed, and I think that you get 100 pieces of silver.
We was also like it says for the farmers if they ratted them out, they said they'd also get like tax deductions and stuff for like for a long time, but they still didn't give in to that.
And they'd be
So,
rewarded with 100 pieces of silver.
Yeah.
And I doubt they see a whole lot of silver in their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to elaborate on that point. I mean, just like the feeling of loneliness. Like, how do you stay optimistic and actually witness to people, knowing that like any of them could turn on you?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I have a quote which was around that topic. It said, today while writing this letter, I sometimes go out of our hut to look down at the sea, the grave of those 2 Japanese peasants who believed our word. So, you kind of get a really vivid image throughout this book because you can see that he's writing it as he's visualizing all these things. That was after, those 2 guys got, staked to those crosses out in the ocean.
Do you think if you were in that situation and like you knew there were Christians and they told you that you would like not be persecuted if you were and you had a family at home to support, like, do you think you would take this over?
That's a question of
it'd be
fate.
situational. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it would be something.
That
that
is-
would-
It's
Well, I mean,
completely
for them, it's
situational.
like, 100 pieces of silver, great. They probably wouldn't let them spend a whole lot of it, or, it's not going to
No, I
improve
mean,
their,
you
well,
can
hang on, it's
spend
not going
it.
to improve their lives a whole lot, whereas they have heaven to look forward to after they die. So, silver,
I'm just thinking like that you can use 100 pieces of silver. You could probably make it last a long time back then, but it's like that's really comes down to a question of faith. Is how strong are you in your faith? Because that is temptation at its finest.
Well, I don't think it's just faith. I think it's moral code. Like,
You think?
I think it's more of where your heart's at. 'Cause
But what if it's
you're-
someone you don't even know? It's
Yeah.
just.
that's
It's-
true.
It's moral code.
But that's not moral because
Yeah.
I mean, it's
do you
someone you
believe
don't
in
even know.
standing
Even if he wasn't a
strong,
Christian.
even if you don't know them, do you believe in standing strong and faithful to those
Right,
that
but
have
in
been
their
faithful
eyes,
to you?
it's guys that came from a totally different part of the world. Problems started happening once they
Yeah,
get
that's what I'm
there.
saying.
Now
And-
they've got all these ransoms and hostages situations going on.
you got to think about it from a standpoint that the government is pitching
Now the
it
government
to you.
is saying they get
These are
reductions
bad
in
people,
tax
yeah.
and they get money,
No, I
which
know.
they've never had before in their lives. So it's between that or
Much more
believing
in large amounts.
believing a religion that came from 2 guys they've never seen before.
And it's like when the government, because obviously the government is saying these are great people, we need to kill them. They're always telling you everything bad they possibly can, even lies about them, and then throwing something good in. So for me, let's say I didn't have religion and I didn't know this person at all, and all they told me was that they were doing bad things, like I would, yeah, sure, give me the money, because for me it's a double win. I'm helping out our government and I'm helping myself.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. But then you boil down to religion and you say, okay, well, despite this person being bad, there needs to be forgiveness.
Because we're seeing it from the perspective of the priest.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, they're good people, but of course the government is
The
going to pitch
priest's
them as
main
good.
goal is the religion. For these people, they've never really known the religion. All they've known is tax and
Yeah.
having
Which-
nothing.
That's actually a good point. Is he's trying to get them to know religion and faith. They don't know it yet. So at that time, money probably takes over.
So a lot of those people are actually doing a doggone good job by,
Yeah.
sticking with these two guys instead of money.
Yeah, because they said they split in half.
Yeah. Anyway.
So like half of them probably stuck with them.
Okay, I had a quote. It was back to that Fumey thing. It said, I thrust from my mind the memory of how Father Gabriel, during the persecution at Unzen, when dragged before the Fumey, had cried out, "I'd rather this foot were cut off than that I should trample on this image." What I think is really cool about that is how their times are so rough over in Japan that they can directly relate a situation that's almost identical to one in the Bible, where they're both getting severely persecuted. I mean, it's almost exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really cool how they could relate that and how that popped in his mind.
I think, just going off the quotes you said, side note, is the author does a really good job of painting images in your mind of, truly what's going on. And more than that, just, really playing your emotions. He really makes you feel for these people and everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot better when he writes it as it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there's little
You
breaks
don't
in the page.
forget.
where
You
he's-
don't forget things.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's breaks in the page where he stopped one day and picked up on another day, and he says it. Oh, on the peasant thing, I have a quote about them. It says, "The wisdom of peasants shows itself in their ability to pretend that they are fools." And that's important because they can kind of fight the government because, they can just act like they're stupid because the government thinks they're stupid. You can't do anything. They have no leverage or power. But, they were taking advantage of that to protect, the Christianity faith.
Do you guys think, so we'll kind of foreshadow a little bit. Do you guys think he will find him and will
I think he will, because honestly, otherwise, what is there a point to the book?
well, you could just talk about the journey
Just
and
never finding him. I feel
because some people focus more on the journey than the destination sometimes.
He has all these writings of journal of all this different things he's gone through. I mean, I guess to him, it's a major part of his life. It'd be interesting whether or not they meet the goal.
Yeah.
They've done so much. I mean, it took 3 years just to get there.
Yeah, they already lost one of the people that were supposed to go.
It wouldn't be pointless if they didn't.
Yeah, as long as I think it very well would have still been relevant if, to go even if they don't find him.
Which is what I was gonna say. Is this is a really good example of how God sends you to do one thing with another goal in mind.
Yeah.
God sent this person to find, who he was looking for, but through that he was witnessing to other people and converting others to faith. So it's a really good example of how you need to let God kind of lead you in your life and that he knows the ultimate reason. Because what if God didn't send him to look for that guy, but rather witness to these people?
Yeah. Well, I also think he's not even just witnessing to them. I feel like he's teaching them a lot about their worth. Because if you're in poverty your whole life and you just let the government take whatever they want from you, you're not going to look at yourself and think.
It goes so much beyond faith.
Yeah. It goes a lot about self-image as
Yeah,
well.
like that.
I found this quote that I really like on page 57, and it says, "I know that the day will come when we will clearly understand why this persecution with all its sufferings has been bestowed upon us, for everything that our Lord does is for our good." Do you guys think that some people had a hard time being faithful in God and wondering why he was challenging them so much?
I think so. Because, anytime we talk about mission trips and stuff, it's always, how could they be so happy with so little that they have?
Exactly.
I mean, I feel like anybody in any kind of third world or anywhere really besides America
Mhm.
has to get over that kind of bump of just like, why am I here? And they get to be there, you know.
Right.
It was
And so-
probably also pretty difficult for them to, accept the faith because they've never had anything, and then you got, worst conditions pretty much you can have, and then they have two guys coming up telling them there's a God that loves them and created them.
Mhm.
So they're going to look back and think,
All
if He created us, loves us, and all that equally, why has He let us live this entire life, and why has He never revealed Himself to us?
all while you
that.
while you have another guy offering you money to turn
Right.
them in. So it's like you start in the middle of just, okay, life's good like this. Then things get really bad, and now you have a choice to believe in something you can't see, you can't feel, you don't know anything at all about, or you can get something that's going to pull you through what you think is your life and is going to help you through the lowest time. Arguably, probably the hardest decision anyone could make in their life.
Yeah.
I feel like heaven would be a really big drive for them too. Kind of just like, we may
Yeah.
have nothing now, but
But do you understand how much easier it would? And
No,
it's not
I know,
arguing.
but-
It's like so much easier to take coins than something you don't believe. Because
No, I
what if
know.
it's not even real? It's
but I'm
like-
also saying like y'all were saying like,
put you out of your misery, like
Yeah.
the way heaven is described.
Yeah, and even if there's like the slightest total crapshoot chance that they could get it.
Yeah, then
Might as
it'll
well
all
give
be
it a
worth
shot,
it the rest of
right.
their life, considering that heaven would
Because
be
they don't have
eternity.
anything really
Yeah.
to lose.
I got this quote from whenever the people from the government were coming to like take two people, like back there, 3 people back to the Capitol. It was like, could this be the silent, stubborn Achizo, or whatever his name is? They knew so well, and it's like even though the author never saw that guy again, whenever he left, he probably died. There was probably like God's will is probably somebody that this dude like witnessed to, whenever he was like over there getting questioned or something. So.
Does anybody have any final thoughts throughout there?
just overall, what'd y'all think of the book, real quick? So far, good.
I feel like it's pretty good. Like mainly like while reading it, it's like how it's like laid out. Like it almost like for me, like when I'm reading, I like to put like myself as like the character I'm reading for, and like thinking about like making all these more like thinking about like in the situation of this person making a moral decision between like turning someone in for like gold or like silver. Like it's like it challenges me like mentally. Like
Do you like how he's writing it, kind of very first person?
yeah,
so
I
you
really
can
like how it's like the stop start. Like you can tell like where he stopped during the day and like picks up the next day. Like I like that a lot better.
Yeah,
It makes you feel more as like a journal.
It's like
Yeah.
it feels like more connected like to the book and like while you're reading.
Very real too.
Mm-hmm.
And he really involves you in it.
Yeah.
What did you
Again-
think, Adam?
That was cool.
Again, as it was written, it's just, his thoughts as everything was happening and everything that was said is a lot more detailed because he wrote it as it was happening. It's more like a journal.
It's like more like raw.
Yeah.
Or not.
yeah.
Good, folks. Thank you, everybody. Great discussion.